Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are so excited you're here. I'm Nikki McCutchen. I will be your host for this evening. Super fun night. This gal, Miss Karla, is just one of my favorite practitioners. I absolutely love working with her. She has truly just done miracles in my own family. I've seen her work with several of my friends, and so I'm just thrilled to get to talk to her tonight, just about what she does and how she loves on her patients, and how our technology has benefited her and her patients as well. So I'm just going to start with our medical disclaimer. All of our technology is not intended to treat, cure, diagnose, or prevent any dis-ease. If you are pregnant or nursing or have medical conditions, please make sure, just like with embarking on a new diet or exercise program, that you check with your preferred healthcare practitioner first. So with that, I am excited to introduce you to Karla Dale. She is with Pure Essence Wellness. And we kind of extended Heart Health Month for February. We're into March now, but we've extended this a little bit, and she's just going to get to share with us from the heart about your spiritual heart, and how, just about her practice and what she does with that, and then how she incorporates our technology with that as well. So, Karla, we would just love for you to come on and share, and we'll just chat back and forth.
Okay, thank you. Hello, and thank you for helping me with the phone thing. So I'm Karla Dale with Pure Essence Wellness. I started my business back in 2021. I had a significant brain injury in 2016, and pretty much lost all my memory, and spent about 4 years working through that with doing trauma release and everything to heal my brain. I had some neuropsych testing done, went to the Amen clinic and had some SPECT scans, and they told me that I had severe PTSD plus a traumatic brain injury. So that set me on this journey, and thankfully God kept speaking to me and kept telling me, showing me ways to help myself, because I really couldn't even think for myself, because it was my executive function was only working at 1%, which that's your thinking brain, planning brain. And then I had no active hippocampus. So short-term and long-term memory weren't functioning. So in 2020, it was really cool because God had revealed this spiritual heart disease article to me by Mark DeJesus. And I told Nikki, I said, a lot of our mental health crisis, we think it's a mental health situation. We think it's a brain situation. And I was on a neuroinflammation training with some psychiatrists from the Amen Clinic the other day, and they're just so focusing on the brain. They're not connecting the heart and the brain. And so they were focusing on human suffering, and trying to get people off of that trauma loop in the brain, and how the brain is interpreting information. Well, something that God had revealed to me in this journey was, I didn't heal my brain, I healed my heart. And through my brain, or through my heart, I healed my brain. And so this article talks about the 6 stages of spiritual heart disease. And so the first stage, the second stage is fearful heart. Then the third stage is angry. Fourth is hopeless. 5 is hard. And 6 is numb and checked out. I can say honestly, in my 20s, after the death of my dad, brother, and sister, and no childhood memory, I checked out. For about the next 20 years, I went into survival mode. I was action based, everything. There were no emotions. I was working 60, 70 hours a week, taking care of my family and just getting it done. I thought it was the biggest curse when I lost all my memory and had to start, trying to find ways. But it was the biggest blessing, because what God was showing me was that I was not living in a spiritual heart space. I had got really checked out. And it wasn't that I wasn't necessarily doing all the things wrong. I just was in that survival space, and I wasn't present. I was not being a human being. I was being a human doing. And one of the coolest things about that is my new slogan. Well, my beginning slogan was placing the human back in the human experience, because there was so much trauma, so much grief, and different things. And I just was like, I'm doing all the things. I'm helping with Bible study. I'm going to church. I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of people in my job, because I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. But I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't tending to my own heart and protecting my own heart. And it was leading me down this journey of severe anxiety, severe depression. And so when I work with people, we heal a lot of anxiety and depression through the heart. We get really disconnected. And one of the things about the patches was I was functioning and got a lot of my functioning back and had been working for 4 years, but I still had a smaller window of tolerance because I didn't have much nervous system space because some of the medications they'd put me on did so much nervous system damage and brain damage. Um, and so it's been a really cool journey, and just a lot of the things that has been revealed to me by God is that a lot of our symptoms are physio-emotional, and it's a lot of spiritual heart things. And so if you look up any symptom, you can look up a physio-emotional symptom of whatever it is you're having, and it's going to tell you some of the biopsychosocial things that are happening in your life. What's really been cool about the patches is it's given me a lot more window of tolerance and given me a lot more endurance because it's helped heal the nervous system. And I was not able to do all the things that I wanted to do because I didn't have that bandwidth. It was like trying to run 300 volts of electricity through 110 volt. It just wasn't working. And so thankfully for the patches, I met Nikki last summer. I actually asked her, I was going on a trip and I was like, what do you got for my knees? Because I've worked a lot. I've done a lot of manual labor, and she put the patch on me, and I didn't know the journey that I was going down the next 3 months. So I texted her one day and I was like, could these patches be making my nerves regrow? Because I can honestly feel my nervous system, my nerves in my hands and my feet regrowing. Um, it's just been an amazing journey. With the spiritual heart disease, that was what I started my business off of, was that article that I found, and God just revealed it to me because people get to that place where they feel hopeless, they feel numb and checked out, and he gave me the tools to help them come back from that. So when they get to me, they've tried everything. A lot of other things aren't working. And so we start healing that heart space, and it heals the brain for nervous, anxiety and depression and all of the different things. And it's just been an amazing journey.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yes, and I can tell you from experience, just watching her work, it's amazing to watch. When people have suffered trauma and they're dealing with that, and issues get stored in our tissues, and so when those things are stored in our body somewhere, it comes out in all kinds of ways and affects us. And we have these compartments that we put things in, that we block things off, that we disconnect. And so Karla is just truly gifted by God to just help people unravel those things and allow their body to detoxify the trauma that's stored in those tissues. So Karla, can you explain to us a little bit? Probably a lot of us don't know what physio-emotional. Explain that, what that means.
So our one of the things that I learned, and I did a really big deep dive because one of the things when I lost my memory, I wanted to make sure I wasn't being deceived and being led astray from God. And that's kind of hard to do when you're in therapy because you don't have your memory. So you're relying on somebody else to help you get that back. And so it's been now 7 years, but for 5 years, I spent 3 days a week with different therapists doing emotion code, body codes, different modalities, brain spotting. I did EMDR, I did neurofeedback. And so when you're working with those different people, you have to be really cautious about your values and your standards because you're impressionable in those vulnerable times. And so one of the things that was really interesting is when you have different things stuck in the body, I had to do a deep dive of what is the spirit body. And that was where I started realizing it is our energetic body. There's lots of different beliefs on this. This is the one that I came to, that I learned for myself, and it very much impacts our nervous system. So physio-emotional is there's emotions are energy in motion or not in motion. And so when they're not in motion, they're stuck in the body, causing imbalance in the body. And that's where disease process starts. So in my opinion, a lot of things begin at the physio-emotional level, and they're going to represent behavior, mental or emotional issues. And so when we start working with the physio-emotional in that energetic body, that is our blueprint for our physical body. And so when we start working with the physio-emotional and releasing that, it brings the body back to balance, where the body's disease process gets a lot of healing.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yes, yeah, fantastic. And so when you're working with your clients, then how quickly are you usually introducing the technology?
most of my clients have tried so many things before they get to me. So I don't try to sell them anything or offer them anything other than the service the first time, because it's overwhelming. They're trying something completely new. And so I normally wait till at least 2 or 3 appointments in, because I want to make sure that we've built rapport. They've spent a lot of money. They've spent a lot of, they've tried a lot of things before. I'm not the first stop. Normally I'm the last stop. And
Mhm.
so by the time they get to me, I want to really make sure that they know that I care for them and that offer them grace. So it's normally 2 or 3 appointments before I start offering them anything other than just what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how quickly are you usually seeing, results or symptomology change for your clients when you introduce the technology?
I've had some people within the first 10 minutes, because they can feel, um, Deanna was one of them, and she spoke on YouTube about it, so it's not private. She was having a lot of issues with her head and neck and different things. She runs a business, and it changed within that first day for her. And
Mhm.
so that's not abnormal. I've had other clients that they don't really think at first that they're working, but they might wear them for a week and then they take them off, and they just realize their digestion's not working, like it was. They aren't able to go to the bathroom, or they're having some anxiety that they weren't having without wearing the patch. And so it's just varies for everybody, honestly.
Yeah. And sometimes, so like when you, if a lot of times there's people that they're still in front of you and you've patched them and they're not necessarily noticing anything per se, but what are you seeing? You're seeing physical reaction to patching them.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones is they're just say, "Well, I'm not really feeling anything," but they're yawning. And so they don't know that they're activating their parasympathetic, because when they start yawning, that's their body is calming down and coming out of fight or flight. So they don't normally recognize some of those things. So I just have to point that out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the majority of your patients, then you would say, are like fully sympathetic dominant.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah.
We're there. I work with a lot of really complex situations.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they've been in fight or flight most of their life.
Right. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so, what have you noticed between before you had the technology and now adding the technology to your practice and utilizing that with your patients? What are the differences that you see?
One of the things is with the patches, the processing time, because when we're releasing old emotions from different ages, another one of the things that I really focus on is neurodevelopment. Because when the brain's not developed, the processing for the, emotional release and getting all those old things out of the body, um, there's some discomfort that comes with that. And so one of the favorite things for me is it's a tool where they're not processing so hard. And so in those processing times, it brings a lot more balance, where they don't feel quite so emotional. That's been a huge tool for myself and for my clients.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So just there, what you're saying is the way that their body responds or their natural detoxification reaction, you're actually able to allow their body to go through that in a calmer, smoother process of allowing the body to detoxify.
Yes, and a lot of times when we start working with the spiritual body, a lot of people will start having liver symptoms, because we're cleaning up the body, the physical body. to work and function better. So it's going to start detoxifying on its own. And so the glutathione patches have been really good for that too, because they can put patch on, they can put the X39 or the Eon on, to help with those detox symptoms and then the balance of the emotional processing. One of my favorite ones is the Alavita, because I work with a lot of people that have a pretty hyperdrive HPA axis. That's a generational trauma thing. That just means that they produce a lot of adrenaline and their bodies, really, it's really in that fight flight mode. And so that a good tool to help them get back in that neurochemical cycle. It keeps it calmer, and so they're not going to get back on that hamster wheel as quickly. It just helps regulate that HPA by down regulating that. And Nikki taught me that because I was like, "Oh, what's this one doing?" I would text her when I would start a new patch, because I'm like, I'm not going to teach myself at first experience, because that's the way I learn what it does for me. And so I just text her and she'd start telling me. And so she taught me that down regulates, and it really does help a lot of my clients that are really highly regulate or upregulated in their HPA axis.
So walk us through that. So when we're talking about the HPA axis and how it affects our body and different body processes, what are these normal things that you're seeing in your clients that are then, helped by the technology?
They have really fast thoughts, really fast body, just day to day. They can't sit still. When the HPA is really upregulated, their body is producing an excessive amount of adrenaline. So if you think of when a child is born, they're either going to have secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. And so our body's either going to oxytocin, or it's going to start producing cortisol. And so some of the things that I've learned in my own journey and working with family, it had a lot of generational trauma. And so that going really fast, the nervous system's going fast, everything's going fast. And with the Alavita patches, it helps regulate that. So if you have somebody that's producing a lot of adrenaline, that's really harmful for our bodies. All that cortisol produces all the inflammation. So when we start to dampen down that cortisol, the body can start to heal because it's seen so much inflammatory cortisol.
Mhm. Yeah, awesome. And sorry, my internet connection I think is struggling a little bit. So what was the opposite of the oxytocin and then the other that they have more of?
Cortisol. So
Cortisol. Yeah.
if we have a secure attachment, we're going to produce a lot more oxytocin because our body's emotionally regulated. If our body's not emotionally regulated and we don't have a secure attachment, we're living more in a fight or flight. And so it's producing a lot more cortisol because our body doesn't know how to calm itself.
Yeah. And so when we have excess cortisol, what does that do to our bodies?
It is, well, first off, it dysregulates the thyroid because the cortisol is going to start to cause autoimmune things. As for me, not having the activity of my hippocampus, is my body was living in such severe fight or flight as a child that cortisol actually, um, it has an impact on the hippocampus, where the brain is not, it's impacting the brain negatively. But even for tissues, cells, everything in your body is going to be more inflamed. And a lot of what I've learned from kids that have complex trauma when they're in their childhood, obviously, is they all have high inflammation, and that high inflammation is what's causing a lot of the disease process. So cortisol is not good if we have too much of it. It's causing all kinds of inflammation in our body. So getting that stopped, to stop producing that excessive cortisol, allows the body to actually truly start to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always the excess, right? So it's like we need some cortisol and we need
Hmm.
some inflammation. So like when we work out and it's causing inflammation, for our muscles to tear down and then rebuild, there's some of that's good. But any type of excess inflammation creates disease in the body. If you don't have inflammation, you can't have disease.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, and that's would be true for trauma as well, is going to create inflammation and high cortisol in the body.
Hmm. And that's just a domino effect of all kinds of things.
Mhm.
So if we
Yeah,
can stop the cortisol and get it, more regulated where we're not having an overproduction of cortisol, we're going to be able to start decreasing the amount of inflammation in the body. So if there's too much inflammation, the body can't really heal and repair because it's
right.
too inflamed.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about the hippocampus then in the brain. What types of things does it control throughout our body?
So it's where long-term memories are stored. One of the things I learned in a neuroscience training a couple of years ago, and these are just bits and pieces that I put together to help my clients. I'm, putting bits and pieces of different things I've learned that I think that God has just truly revealed to me to make the process better. When I was doing all my trauma release, I didn't have an active short prefrontal cortex or hippocampus. It was very not developed. And so the emotions of grief and things while I was processing that were extensive. And I was just like, nobody in their mind is going to do this. and so the things I learned in the neuroscience is if you have a trauma within the first 3 years of your life. So I use my daughter for an example. My dad died by suicide when she was 3 weeks old. My brother died in a car wreck when she was 10 months old. She did not have emotional regulation. I was not emotionally present. We had, her life was different than my boys because of the timing of those events. And so what I learned in that neuroscience training is the hippocampus is where there's a lot of emotional regulation. And so if our hippocampus is underdeveloped because we had a trauma in those first 3 years of life that we don't even think about later on in life, then our emotional regulation is not going to be as present. And so one of the things that I've learned for my clients is I'm going to help develop their brain neurodevelopment before we start releasing a lot of the trauma from the body because they're not going to process it as hard. And so if we develop those parts of the brain, then their processing isn't going to be such extensive grief. And that has been a huge thing to kind of reverse engineer the way it was done for me because I don't want to go through that suffering. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So a lot of emotional processing in the hippocampus.
Absolutely. Yes. And you have it's amazing to watch the Lord how he never wastes a hurt, and so he's using you and all that you've been through and like the different therapies that have really caused you issues allowed you to then step into a different place to where that these are not going to be helpful for people, so you have some better answers for them and what they're going through. And so it's just it's amazing how God does that, and thankful that you're willing to walk down that road and help people with that. Just a true blessing for sure.
Well, I will say, when I was begging and pleading for mercy, and I just said, lead me, guide me, show me, I would lose my vision for 4 and 5 days at a time. My nervous system was so messed up. My brain was so messed up. And when I made that surrender and he started leading and guiding me and showing me, and I was just like, I will do whatever it is that you put forth in my path. I don't care what it takes. And that has just been an amazing journey because I have been blessed in ways that I would never have expected. And when he said to trust him, I started trusting him. And I'm telling you, he has provided for me in ways that I could not even explain.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yes, he is so good. He's so very good. Yes, we have a very good God we serve. Yes. Um, okay, so talk to me a little bit because I know that a lot of your doctors, just for everything that you have been through, put you on different medications. And so
Mhm.
talk to us a little bit about how the damage, for the spiritual heart disease and for your brain that actually get created and why it's so important that people look for modalities that will work with the way their body's created so that their body can do the work of healing versus the damage and the compartmentalization that actually happens through a lot of the drug therapies that people are put on. So walk us through that for just a minute.
So, first, I was working with kids. I was the health professional for the school district in my 30s. I was dealing with kids every day that were abused and working with, DHS, advocating for these kids, not knowing that I didn't have any childhood memory, triggering me really bad. I didn't know what was lying below the surface because I had no memory of it, but my body had a memory of it. And so I started having severe panic attacks when I was dealing with these children that were having severe abuse. And I went to my doctor and I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I deal what a panic attack was. I didn't, I mean, I was not raised with emotions. I grew up on a farm. We worked. So when I started having these severe panic attacks, I went to the doctor and I was just like, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, here, take this 10 milligrams of Celexa. I've never taken medicine. I didn't even take medicine when I had my kids. I just never really believed in it. And I told him, I said, I don't really take medicine. And he said, well, this will help with your panic attacks. Well, I'm desperate. I need to work. I need to take care of my children. And I'm like, I don't know anything else to do. So I started taking the 10 milligrams of Celexa, and my blood pressure, because I did boot camp, I ran 3 or 4 miles every day. My blood pressure went from 102/62 to 210/110 in 3 months. And that began a decline in my health for the next 5 years. I was in and out of the hospital with all kinds of neurological symptoms. I could not regulate my emotions. Didn't even know what I was doing. I was so disconnected from myself. I lost my autonomy. They make you do things that are not yourself. You don't know what you're doing. And this is not just a me thing. There are forums all over social media with people that have got on these medications and they're having severe psychosis. They are having severe suicidal thoughts. It's just, but what it does to the nerves is it truly just damages the myelin sheath that covers the nerves. So they're exposed. Akathisia, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a very miserable thing. And so a lot of the medications I would take my doctor, medical journal articles when I got to where I could not function and say, oh, okay, these medications do chemical lobotomies to the temporal lobes. They're doing this, they're doing this. They wouldn't listen to me. Now there's a lot more information because this was back in 2017 when I stopped taking the medications abruptly. And that's not good either. But I didn't really have a choice because they didn't know what to do with me. And I went to try to refer myself to neurologists. And once I was on those medications, they would not accept me as a patient because they knew what those medications do and they didn't have a way to heal it. And so what I will tell you is if you know somebody that has antidepressant damage, antipsychotic damage to their nerves, their brain, these patches help them heal that and help them get relief from that akathisia. It is absolutely miserable. You feel like your whole body is crawling and you cannot contain it. It's truly a neurological severe damage to the nervous system.
Mhm.
And so what I've told Nikki over and over, I want to let people know that they could get relief with these patches because it helps heal that nerve damage.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. Yes. And so explain to us what a chemical lobotomy is.
So in the old days, they would go in and take out parts of your brain physically. A chemical lobotomy is taking out part of your brain with the chemicals. And there are medications that do that. And they will say that they don't. In the 2017-18, there are several psychiatrists that have social media platforms that they're speaking out about this. Brain Energy by Chris Palmer. He's kind of new and leading he didn't even come out until after I had already started my business. But a lot of the things that he's talking about is accurate. There's another one, it's Dr. Joseph. His clinic's really expensive, but he has accurate information to truth about the medications. And it's just really sad, because one of the things for me in advocating about these different things is, when I was working at the school, our district was 2,600 students, and the medications that they're putting 6-year-olds on, they stunt neurodevelopment, and they're medicating these kids, and their brains are not going to develop properly because they're not even supposed to be giving them. I mean, it says it on the FDA things. Yes, they're FDA approved, but they're not FDA approved for 5-year-olds. And I will tell you, I would see 5 and 6-year-olds that had 5 and 6 different medications, and they were walking zombies. And it's just sad because they can't learn.
Yeah, it is so very sad. Yes. Yes, so important that we look for options. I know sometimes people feel like, they don't know what else to do because they're just used to using allopathic medicine. But that's all the answers they have for you. And so it's so important to not give up and to look for other things that you can do, and other options. And the patch technology is just truly so amazing because it literally is the simplest thing that you can add for your health to support what your body already does. That's what's so important to understand about the patch technology, is that the patch is not doing anything. It is literally turning on a light switch in your house. It is the light switch that turns on GHK copper peptide in the body. And then it's what we know the research says that GHK copper peptide does in the body, or what epithalamine for Alavita, what epithalamine does in the body. It's just turning on that light switch. So what the pituitary gland does in the body. So it's just turning those things on so your body has the capability to heal and restore, which is what the body was designed to do, heal and restore. So it's not the patch that's actually doing anything. All it is the electricity. It's the electricity, the light switch, the bulb, it's now on so that the electricity will run to the bulb. So that electricity will run to that peptide. So the peptide will get up and do what it was already designed to do in the body. So your body has proper support. So, yeah. Is there any last minute things you want to say, Karla? I know we're over our 30 minutes for tonight, but anything else you'd like to add?
I think that just, knowing about that, knowing that it helps with antidepressant damage, knowing that it can help with ADHD, knowing it can help with ADD. And the biggest thing for me, and the biggest, I'm not a complainer, but the biggest complaint for me was, I wish I had informed choice. I was in a desperate place. I did not have informed choice. Nobody, even went over any of that information. So my biggest thing is knowing that there are different options, and letting people know that there are options so they can have informed choice to choose what they feel like is best, instead of feel like they're only being able to take medication. And so that has been, see a need, or see a need, sow a seed, fill a gap. And that has been my favorite thing for this, is seeing that need, sowing a seed, and filling a gap, and trying to advocate and give informed information so people know there are other options.
Absolutely. Pastor Ed, do you want to come on and ask a question?
Thank you, Carla. It was great presentation, great information that you have given us. A lot of it is over our heads. As a pastor, I do want to ask you though, do you talked about spirit body, which is kind of like an oxymoron to me, because the spirit is one thing, the body is another. If you can very, short, explain that to us. And secondly, does your practice service people virtually, or is only
I
in
service people
person?
virtually. I have clients in 20 different states. I've had a client in Germany, so I do Zoom. There's a Zoom link on my website. So what I learned, and these are things that I had to ask myself, like, what is this? Because when I was working with a therapist, I was disassociating. My spirit body was not in my body. So it's our energetic body. Everything that has a physical matter has the energetic matter. And so that energetic body is what I have learned is the spirit body. And so I'm like, okay, well, how does that work? And so if I believe that God sent Jesus to the earth, and that God put Jesus in Mary's womb, then Jesus was placed there by Mary's physical DNA and God's spiritual DNA. And that's how we have our spiritual body and our physical body.
Fantastic explanation,
Wow.
right? Like
Awesome.
that blows your mind, right?
Absolutely. I need to talk to you more often. What's your website, Karla?
pureessencewellness.net.
Yeah, so I'll type that in the chat, pureessencewellness.net. You can also find her on Facebook, Pure Essence Wellness. She has so much great information on there as well. So hopefully I can type it right.
One of the most interesting things for me in doing this was, I had to really ask myself, am I being deceived by going down this path? God calls us to certain things. And so there was some pushback in different areas of my life, my community and whatever. And I questioned that. I worked with some clients that had come in that were atheists. I had worked with some clients that came in that were agnostic. And I honestly was seriously thinking about quitting doing my business. And the next week, I had 3 clients come in that were those 3 clients, and they told me that they had accepted Christ and got baptized.
Does your heart good, right? I'm like, yeah.
So
And
I didn't quit my business.
yeah. Yeah. And it's because of that disconnect, right? It's that that ability of how we all separate. Like we all have things in life where people hurt people. But that is not what's that is what happened because hurt people, and so but that's not God. That's not what his desire is for us. And so to allow people to be able to release the trauma that's stored, because those things get stored. So having an avenue to know how to release that properly as well and safely as well allows them to not associate God with people. It puts God on his throne, Almighty God who loves us, who cares for us, who provides for us, who sees us, who hears us, who knows us, who wants what's best for us. It separates the God Almighty who he is versus God wouldn't let this happen to me if he actually loved me. No, we are under rule and reign of sin here on this earth. We are under that weight. We are under that pressure, and hurt people hurt people. So that's what we have to deal with. That is completely separate from who God is and what he wants for us, and his great love for us and what he's already done for us, so that we can have a relationship with him. So yes, so I love what you're doing. I know it takes on a very interesting space, but the Lord has given you the words, as you've seen tonight, Mary and Jesus in the womb and Mary and God, and the whole thing. Like you're just like, oh my gosh, like this just makes your brain really think like, okay, let me take all that in. Like let me just think and process that. So so very good. Any last words, Karla?
Shoot.
No, you're good.
I don't think so. I just, a lot of even the kids stuff is neurotoxins. It's blocking our connection to God. It's blocking that communication to God. The neurotoxins that are in our food, the neurotoxins that are in, all the things that we're consuming, and we get that block. And there's a lot of more awareness coming to that, but it's blocking our connection from hearing from him and being connected to God, because all of those neurotoxins are creating that block. And so when we start cleaning up the body, we actually clean up that connection to where we can start hearing him a lot more.
Absolutely. Yes, Vicky, please come on.
Karla, you have really blessed me this evening. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Very just so incredible on so many levels. And I'm just over here crying, laughing, rejoicing, all those emotions and stuff. But I can say that I kind of relate to what you're talking about as far as the process. Um, and not being deceived, especially when it comes to a technology like this, because I had gone through so much myself. And I just wanted more options was my thing. If I had been given the option, I probably wouldn't have done a lot of different things. So I'm
Mhm.
thankful for this technology. And another thing that I kind of struggled with because I'm in the church is I don't want people to think that I don't have faith because I'm relying on this technology. This
Mhm.
technology is a blessing from God. It is
Yes.
helping us and so many people around the world. So I'm just thankful for it. And, my faith is not any less because I'm using a natural technology that God designed. So,
Right. Well, if you look up the word behind pharmaceutical, what that means, I mean, if people if they're taking pharmaceuticals, that's, just look up the base word for pharmaceutical.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. The Greek word, definitely. Pharmakia. Yep.
Pharmakia.
Do some research on that for sure. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing. Y'all, please, I cannot stress enough the fact that we have her in our group. We have her in our lives. I've sent multiple people across the states to work with her. So please utilize her. Just those people that you know and love to get well, to just be back together, to have autonomy over themselves, to be able to be making decisions with wisdom and knowledge, and just get their autonomy back, is just truly a blessing. And so please utilize her, pureessencewellness.net. Hopefully, was it like the pure and the essence? There's two E's right there. Did I do it right? Okay. Pureessencewellness.net. You can find her on Facebook at Pure Essence Wellness. Reach out to me if you want to get in touch with her as well, but you can get in touch with her all those ways. I'll be happy to get her connected with you. And please get back. I know we didn't dive a lot into the technology, but please get back with the person who invited you to the call tonight so that they can explain some of the things that she talked to us about and how that can benefit people in different areas. That's also very important to understand those blessings and that benefit. And I would also say that it's also the combination of her ability and the therapies that she uses along with this technology that get people to move down the road so much quicker. My daughter had been using the technology for, let's see. So we know each other almost a year now. So my daughter's been using the technology for 2 years. Working with Karla and having that combination has gotten my daughter farther and faster than anything else that we have done. So I can just tell you from personal experience, the combination of the two, and when my daughter's eating right, she's exercising, she's doing all kinds of natural modalities, and we've done this for years. It was Karla that her modalities and what that she does, with all these other great things that she's already been doing, but it's Karla's modalities that have really pushed her faster and quicker and better in a better way than anything else we could have ever done. So I just can't recommend her highly enough to you because obviously our kids, are just, we want them to live full, wonderful, happy, joyful lives, and pursue what they're called to do, and not, be hindered by some of these traumas and things that happen in life that really set us back and keep us from what God has called us to do. So get back with the person who invited the call, understand what the patch technology actually has available to you, what you have, understand the importance of what you have in supporting your body's own natural processes, which is what this technology gives us. So go to patchtheway.com, PATCH theway.com. You can learn more. There's deep dives. So you can click on the deep dive section that will bring up the Alavita, Eon, and glutathione that Karla talked about. There's our main foundational patch, which Karla, starts everyone on as well. That's our starting place. And that we can add some of these other things as, needed or as somebody has different goals. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. Come back on Monday. I do a 30-minute call on Mondays at 6:00 Central Standard Time, where I will just go over our foundational technology, explain that. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions. Even if you have questions tonight, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm happy to try try to get you answers, since we didn't get to do a lot of that tonight. But you can also bring those questions back to me on Monday night. That's what that time is there for, so that you can ask questions, you can get those questions answered. And that's what we're here to do, is just to serve you. So Monday nights, come back. That's what we're here to do, is to help you invite people. Let us help you introduce more people to this technology. Our Monday night call is for that. So please invite people to that as well. So with that, we pray blessing over each and every one of you. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much, Karla, for being here. You're such a blessing.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Good night. God bless.
Right.
Good night.
God bless.